All praise, all glory, and honor most certainly due to the Most High, the God of the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I want to say peace to you in the name of the Son Jesus. I count it truly a blessing each and every single time that I can come before you to preach the Word of God and never do account it as a light thing to do so. I just want to touch upon something briefly that I read about a month ago, and I did want to do just a short message pertaining to this topic, and that is the topic of abortion. Now, abortion is a topic that I talk about quite often. I believe it is it is one of the most grave sins that is occurring in the United States. And for many conservative people who felt that, the Dobbs decision was a victory and a turning point in a country that you can see is on a road of moral degradation, you see, unfortunately, that this is not a time in which things are turning for the better. They are continuing to get worse. And I just want to read this from U.S. News and World Report. It says, a new report says abortions. This is actually from the title of the article is U.S. abortions increase in year after Supreme Court decision. A new report says abortions decreased dramatically in states that limited access, but the drop-off was made up for in other states that became havens for women seeking the procedure. All right, this was from October 24th, 2023. After the Supreme Court took away guaranteed rights in June 2022, anti-abortion groups hoped and abortion rights advocates feared that access to abortion would be so severely restricted that women would abandon it as an option to continue with their unplanned or unwanted pregnancies. Alright, that's not the case. But in the roughly 1 year since the politics shaking ruling was handed down, the number of abortions performed in the United States actually increased by 2,200 according to a report released Tuesday. Okay? And so just think about that. You basically hand on a Supreme Court decision, and in states where these liberal, left-leaning states, people are just going to these states to have an abortion, and your numbers actually increase. America has killed 65 million babies. Okay, you should not believe, and I keep talking about this. You should not believe that there's not going to be a day of reckoning for this. You've destroyed the institution of marriage, and you are engaged in child sacrifice. When I say child sacrifice, you're sacrificing these children on the altar of convenience. Because even though you don't have a figure of Molech with outstretched hands and burning fire, you are sacrificing these children. You're sacrificing your progeny. And we're going to see why that's wrong. But it says, I'm going to keep reading here. It says, the study by the Society of Family Planning, a group that supports access to abortion, found that abortions indeed did increase dramatically in states that banned or greatly limited the ability to get an abortion. But the drop-off was more than made up in states that became havens for women seeking abortions, according to the report called #WeCount. And abortion is deemed as healthcare. That's not healthcare. How is it healthcare when you're killing an individual? I'm going to read something from the U.S. Census, because the so-called Negro, who are the Israelites that the Bible is talking about, we're one portion of them. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, we basically make up 46.9 million. That's according to the 2020 census. This is from a source. 2020 census illuminates racial and ethnic composition of the country. So according to that census, we're 46 million, 46.9 million. Okay, the second largest race alone or in a combination group. But how many abortions have we had? Okay, we've had 20 million abortions. Okay, so think about that. We're 46% of the 46.9 million people in the United States, but we've had what would almost equate to half, in a number that would equate to half of our overall population. And this year, as of yesterday, we had 273,000 abortions. Now, to put this into perspective, whites had 313,000. We had 273,000, but we're only roughly 12% of the overall population. So we are killing our progeny at an astronomical rate. In addition to having, when we do have children, born 70+% outside of wedlock. Now, this is 20 million black babies. This is from the title by Elizabeth Stafford. 20 million black babies have been aborted since Roe v. Wade. Where's the equity in that? Democrats love to talk about abortion and systemic racism, just not in the same conversation. The National Right to Life Center estimates that by the end of 2021, 63.5 million abortions had been performed in the United States since the Supreme Court's 1973 Roe v. Wade decision. Nearly 40% of women who seek abortions are African American, which is astounding, considering this demographic made up just 13.6% of the population at the time of the 2020 census. This likely means that over 20 million black babies have been aborted during the past 50 years. 20 million equates to 6% of the total U.S. population. It's also approximately 45% of the current black American population of 45 million. And this was just a side note. This was written on October 14, 2022. And had these children been born, blacks would represent about 20% of the total population. See, there's always been a push to control our reproduction. In the time of slavery, they bred us like cattle and sold our children to make money. After slavery, they forcibly sterilized our women and pushed birth control amongst our people. That was Margaret Sanger, right? And what became Planned Parenthood and the Negro Project. Look it up. I wrote a book about it called Killing Black Innocence. And now they've pushed this notion of abortion upon us, and we have accepted it wholesale. She goes on to write, and had these children been born, blacks would represent about 20% of the total population. Clearly, abortion has had an enormous effect on blacks in America. So what's the problem with abortion? Well, let's first off, let's pick it up in the book of Exodus. Let's go to the book of Exodus. Let's go to the book. Because people have these ignorant notions that a child in the womb is not actually a child. It actually is not life. But that's simply not the case. You know, the reality is that it is life, okay? And not only is it life, it's a different life, separate from the woman, okay? And then because it's separate from the woman, that means that life has its own personhood. So if that be the case, then that means it is sin to destroy. As it is written in the Bible, thou shalt not murder. Okay? Let's pick it up. Let's pick it up in Psalms 139. Before I go here, in Torah, I want to read something in Psalms 139 first. And here we understand something about the child in the womb. This is a psalm of David. He said, "For thou hast possessed my reins, thou hast covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well." See, we are a part of what God made. We are his offspring. Okay? So it is sin to kill. As it is written again, thou shalt not kill. Okay? And we know, and the embryologist will tell you, that life begins in the womb. So understand what you're doing when you have an abortion. you are destroying a life. You are actually committing murder. People can call it a fetus. They could say, well, it doesn't mean this, and it's up and only until this certain trimester. You can say all these things to make yourself feel better, but the reality is that all these women that are getting these abortions because a baby is inconvenient, because that is the main reason that women get abortions. It's not because of incest, it's not because of rape, it's because a baby is inconvenient. Perhaps if you didn't lay down with a man that you are not married to, perhaps you wouldn't be in that situation. And that's the reality. Nobody wants to say that, but that's the reality. Okay? That is the reality of the situation. Let's pick it up in Exodus, the 21st chapter. Now we can read in Torah. And this shows you, at least according to the Bible, that there is personhood in the womb. That there is sanctity in the womb. This is Exodus 21 and verse 22. It says, if men strive and hurt a woman with child. So the woman's pregnant. These men are engaged in a physical altercation, and a woman is hurt in the process, so that her fruit depart from her, and it sends her, whatever these men do, they hurt her in a way that it sends her into a premature labor. And yet no mischief follow, he shall be surely punished. Okay, so the one that caused her to go into premature labor, if the child was born healthy, he still was punished for this. It said, according as the woman's husband will lay upon him, and he shall pay as the judges determine. It says, and if any mischief follow. What does it mean, mischief? Meaning something happens to that baby. Notice it said, then thou shalt give life for life. So if that baby, so in other words, if that woman was pushed into premature abortion, premature labor because of what that man did, and that baby died, then that man was to be executed. So what does that show you? Life for life. That shows you that there's personhood in the womb. Okay? So now let's go to one other place. Let's go to Psalms, back to Psalms, the 82nd chapter. The 82nd division of Psalms, to see, the potential of human life. See, what they're doing is they're crushing the baby's head, and they're snatching it out of the womb, and they're doing all these atrocities to these children. They're selling them for scientific research. They're using them for vaccines, and in some cases they're simply throwing them away like trash. I'm talking about the aborted babies. I've seen it. This is what they're doing. But now, what is the potential for human life? Psalms 82. And verse 6, it says, I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are the children of the Most High. See, we are his children. We were made in his image and in his likeness to be what he is, which is eternal. This is the potential of man, which is to be an eternal being. We are his offspring. That letting you know you shouldn't be killing your baby. Also, we have to really consider what kind of spiritual degradation we are steeped in as a country to the point where we will kill 65 million babies. What's going on in America spiritually? See, this is satanic. This is satanic. This goes right back to the same type of child sacrifice in the days of Molech. All the bloodshed of the babies. And with all the bloodshed of these babies, you should not think for 1 second that everything's going to be all right. You shouldn't think for 1 second that you're not going to have to pay a cost for killing the innocents. I want to thank you for your time.